Hi everyone, this is Ravi. Welcome to TRICENTIS Tosca Full Course Part 2. So this is 3 hour session where I'll be covering the advanced topics of TRICENTIS Tosca automation tool. Let us see the full course of topics that I'm going to cover in 3 hours. Our first topic is how to define business parameters and how can you use the business parameters by using Tosca while automating your test cases. Our next topic is how can you create your execution list and then how can you execute the execution list in Tosca. And our third topic, how can you link the automated test cases to the requirements in Tosca. And our next topic, how can we define and use while statements, if statements and do statements in TRICENTIS Tosca while automating your test cases. And our next topic is implementing recovery scenarios. So basically I'm going to tell you how to identify the recovery scenarios and then how can you implement the recovery scenarios in TRICENTIS Tosca. And I'm also going to cover implementation of cleanup scenarios by using Tosca. And then I'm going to cover dynamic comparison. How can you use the dynamic comparison while automating your test cases? And then the dynamic ID and explicit name. How can we use the dynamic ID and explicit name features in Tosca while automating the test cases? And our next topic is how can you set the repetition at folder level and how can you use the explicit name along with the repetition. And our last topic is how can you use the ActionMode Constraint. Okay, so we have another topic. So I'm going to cover the self-healing mode. So basically how can you enable the self-healing mode and how can you self-heal your test cases whenever there are some broken objects. So now let's jump onto the system and cover all these topics in 3 hours.
So this is our lesson 1 in terms of advanced concepts trainings, or it's a lesson 16 in terms of overall TRICENTIS Tosca automation concepts. Okay, so in this lesson I'm going to teach you how can we use and how can we create business parameters in TRICENTIS Tosca by using latest Tosca 16 version. Please do subscribe to the channel, click on bell icon, you'll receive notifications whenever I publish more videos. Thank you. Okay, so what are business parameters and how can we use them and why do these business parameters useful for us? Let us understand first. So if you remember in my previous session, I have already taught you about creating libraries and then creating reusable test blocks in the library, right? So to create you different test cases, right, you'll be using a series of steps, same kind of series of steps, right? So those reusable test steps you can store in the libraries. Okay, so by using those libraries you can easily create multiple test cases. So whatever the reusable test steps, you can just drag and drop into your test case and then modify the test case accordingly, right? So now any modifications made in the reusable test blocks of the library will also apply to those test cases which are created with the reference of these reusable test blocks. Correct? So that's why you cannot make any changes to your library. Let's assume if a user wants to create multiple test cases with different test data sets by using libraries. Is it possible? No. So if you modify any reference test case, or if you modify any test block, then the corresponding test cases, all the test cases, whatever referencing your library, will get modified. So since user data varies for different test cases, it would become a problem if we attempt to use test step libraries with the same data. So what is the solution? The solution is business parameters. So there is a solution that allows each tester to use their own user data for different test cases that you are referring from your library reusable test blocks. So you can use your libraries, you can use your reusable test blocks, and then you can create test cases, but you can change your test data by using business parameters. It's very, very important concepts. So by end of this lesson, you will be able to create and use business parameters at test case levels. So if you remember, in my previous session, I have teached you about test case configurations parameters, test case configuration parameters. So those test case configuration parameters are at test case level. These business parameters are at test case level, but you can change these business parameters for each and every test case. Basically, you can use different test data sets while creating test cases from your libraries. Okay, so now let's jump onto the system and see and understand how can we create and how can we use these business parameters.
So this is my Tosca 16 latest version. So if you remember in my previous sessions, right, I have explained you how to create library and the reusable test blocks within the library, right? And these reusable test blocks we have used to create the new test cases. So if you see here, if the folders are representing a reference here, that means these test cases are created by using your reusable test blocks, right? If you remember this process folder, there is a modification. That's why what we did, we resolved the reference and modified steps, right? But here in today's session, what if I want to create a new test case, but I don't want to use a same set of test data, right? So then you can, let's say I want to use my own URL, if I want to use my own email and password while creating my test cases from reusable test blocks, so you cannot change. So if you change your email ID and password here, your actual precondition test blocks also gonna change, right? If you make a change here in the test case, your entire library is gonna change. So that means if you change the library, all the test cases referenced to these reusable test blocks will change, right? So now I want to use the reusable test blocks to create a new test case, to automate a new test case. But I don't want to use the same test data in all the test cases. How can we do that? Okay, so let's copy this, the previous test case that we have created in my previous session, and then paste this, paste it here. Okay, and rename this as 17 business parameters. Okay, done. So now this is my new test case. So before you start working on this, first I want to make changes to my library. Okay, under library, go to precondition. So for this precondition, I want to create business parameters here. Why? I want to create three business parameters. Right click, you have to click on create whenever you have to create business parameter at folder level, right click on this, click on business parameter. So once we create business parameter here, right, now you can start creating actual business, for this business parameter you can create parameters 1, 2, 3. So let's name this as the first one. URL is my first business parameter, username is my second business parameter, and then password is my third business parameter. Okay, so now let's expand this. So now if you want to replace the hard-coded values, right, here in the precondition, just remove these hard-coded. Let's say I want to remove this URL, I want to remove the value of username, I want to remove the value of password, right? So simply what you need to do is you have to drag and drop. Okay, so 1 minute. So what you need to do, you need to drag and drop your business parameters. Okay, so here for example URL, right, drag and drop here, drag this business parameter, drop here. What it will do, it's gonna create. So before you drop, actually I have to remove the values. Okay, remove the value, drag and drop URL. So what it will do, it's gonna create a link to this parameter, business parameter. Open curly braces, PL, open square braces, your parameter name, close square braces and close curly braces. In the same way, for this email, remove this email, remove the password, simply drag and drop your username and password here. Okay, so let me, password. Okay, now I want to use this username, right, drag and drop here. In the same way, password, drag and drop onto password. Okay, so it's created your, so let me just one more time, I want to drag and drop my password. Okay, because it's a password, it's going to show it as a password field. Drag and drop it to the password. That's it. So now that means now it's created the links of your business parameters to the values, right? So now let's go back to your test case here. Now here if you see, expand your precondition. Okay, in this test case here, now I can pass the business parameters here, right? So let's pass the business parameters to this test case. Let's say I want to use this URL for this test case. Okay, I can use this URL and I want to use password as username as this one and the password as this, right? Okay, let me change my username. Okay, this is my username and this is my password. Let's say if tomorrow I want to create one more test case, you can simply copy this and paste it here. Now this time you can change your business parameters. New URL you can provide, new username, new password. So this test case will run with this kind of test data set. Another test case will run with another test data set. So basically you can create multiple test cases, but you can execute the test cases with different data sets. So now let's just simply run this test case. Right click, So before run, let me close the web. Okay, so right click here now and run this in the Scratchbook. So it opens your this thing. It should see it took the URL from the business parameter and then username password from the business parameter. That's it. It's going to execute your entire test case. So basically this time we have taken the test data from the business parameter. And if you want to create another test case with a different data set, you can simply copy and paste and you can change the business parameter values. Okay. Okay, so let's close this. Okay, that's done. So let's go back here. Let's say I want to copy this again. Okay, I want to create one more, but I want to use some other test data set now. Okay, right click and paste. So here in this, right, in this test case, now I can change the data set here. I can change my username as something else and I can change the password to something else, correct? And now you can run this. That means two test cases we can run with different data sets. So this way you need not to, so you are not, what is the purpose of business parameter is you can reuse your test blocks to automate new test cases, but you need not to use the same test data that is available in your reusable test blocks. You can change your test data and you can use your own test data for each test case that you automate. Okay, hope you all understand the very important concept of business parameters. Okay, if you have any queries, leave your queries in the comment box. I'll try to respond to your queries. Thank you.
Hope you all understand the concepts of business parameters and why do we use business parameters and how can you use these business parameters by using latest version TRICENTIS Tosca 16. So this is our lesson 2 in our advanced training, but it's a lesson 17 if you consider as an overall TRICENTIS Tosca automation concepts. So in this lesson, I'm going to teach you how can we create and how can you execute your execution lists by using latest version TRICENTIS Tosca 16. Please do subscribe to the channel, click on bell icon, you'll receive notifications whenever I publish more videos. Thank you. Okay, so by end of this lesson, you're going to learn how to create execution lists and then you will be able to link your automated test cases to the execution list and then you can interpret the execution results. Okay, so once you complete automating your test case, you no longer need to run in Scratchbook, because in our previous sessions we used to run in the Scratchbook. So running in the Scratchbook is just for the trial runs to make sure your automated test cases will work. But for proper test case execution, the recommendation is to use your execution lists where it stores all the results and history of your test runs. Okay, so now let's jump onto the system and understand how can we create and execute our execution lists.
So this is my Tasca tool, right? So till date we were talking about the test cases module, right? I have already teached you about the modules, how to create modules, and then we also worked on test cases. So these two sections we already worked on. Now for execution, to create execution lists, we'll start working on the new section called execution. So you need to navigate to execution section, and under execution section, under execution lists, right click and let's create a new execution list folder. Okay, so basically let's create a execution folder. Okay, let's name this as session 02 execution, create execution list. Okay, create execution list. Okay, under this execution folder, again right click, and now let's create execution list. Okay, this is your execution list, this is your execution list folder. Okay, let's create execution list, and name this as shopping cart. Okay, shopping cart. So now once you create your execution list, now it's time for us to map the test cases that you would like to execute as part of this execution list. Okay, so for that, let's drag this test cases folder and put this at the right side. Okay, and now let's go to execution here. So let's say I have completed automating the test cases. Okay, so as soon as you complete automating the test cases, let's assume session 12 action modes. Okay, this automation is done. So that's why what we are going to do, we are going to mark this work state as completed, and also let's also mark this one also as completed. Okay, and let's mark this also as completed. Okay, okay, so now, so once you mark the test case automation as completed, now let's say I want to execute the test cases of these two test cases. Okay, for that, let's map this test case to the execution list what I created. For that, you need to drag and drop onto the execution list that we created, and then let me drag this also and drop onto the execution list that we created. So now if you see, we already created both, we already linked two test cases from two different sections, right? Two different sessions. So now, sorry, let me just rename this as, okay, this is my execution list, right? So, and if you see here, if you want to, okay, if you want to, let me explain, if you want to exclude any one of these test case, right, from your execution list, let's say you have mapped multiple test cases under this execution list. So if you want to exclude one of them, right click and then simply you can disable it. As soon as you disable it, it's going to disable from the execution list. See, this is disabled. Again, right click and you can enable this. Okay, that way you can enable. And one more, so that is one thing. And let's say if you want to execute, or one more thing. So one more thing is, if you want to refresh or synchronize this particular test case, right click here and there is an option called sync. See, if you right click on your execution list and click on synchronize, what it will do, it will synchronize your latest, let's say you made some modifications to this test cases, right? So those changes needs to be reflected to this execution list. So right click and click on synchronize. So that will bring the latest updated folders. Okay, So either you can directly drag and drop your test cases, or let's assume I want to drag and drop this entire folder. You can simply drag and drop your folder also. See, this entire folder is dragged and dropped. And if you want to synchronize this entire folder, right click and you can just synchronize this folder. So what happens, all the test cases under this folder will gets updated or synchronized with the latest updates. Okay, so let me delete this one for now. And one more thing is, let's assume I want to run this execution list multiple times. So let's drag and drop this folder also here. If I want to execute the test case under this folder multiple times, all the test cases under this folder, then I can simply select the folder, and then here I can specify the repetitions. If I want to repeat this as 3 times, I can repeat this as 3 times. If I want to repeat this as 4, I can repeat as 4. So that you can set up these repetitions at folder level only, not at the, sorry, and also you can specify at the test case level, but not at the execution list level. Okay, under this execution, let's say I want to execute this test case multiple times, I can specify repetitions as 2 or 3. In the same way, under this you have particular folder to be repeated for multiple times, you can specify that as well. Okay, so now let's delete this again. Okay, so that is one thing. And okay, so let's say we have mapped all the test cases that I want to run as part of this execution list, right? Now if I want to run this, I need to simply right click and click on run. So that will start your test cases. Okay, and also, okay, see, it opened the web browser and it started running the test cases. Okay, so we mapped 2 test cases. It's going to run those two test cases as part of that execution list. So this is my first test case. Okay, so it's executed and then done, and then it's going to start executing my second test case. See, it started executing my second test case. So it might get failed because of some issues with that test case, but however, let it fail also. Okay, I just failed it. Okay, I want to show how can we analyze the test results. If you see here under execution lists, it is gonna maintain your history. Okay, this is my first run of my first test case, and this is my first run of my second test case, right? If you expand this, see, this is failed. Okay, so if I want to analyze this, double click on this, double click on here, and then you will get the details. See, the matching tab was not found. Okay, so this is what the error I got, right? So basically you can see all the logs of your execution, right? And then if you see log info, out of 2 test cases, one is passed, one is failed. And you can also see what is the start time of this test case. See, start time and the duration, right? For this, what is the start time and the duration, correct? I can see that also. And this test case is totally passed. See, I can see all the steps are passed. For this test case, one step got failed, correct? And if I run this again, what happens? It's gonna append new row. Okay, so basically it maintains entire history of your test runs for this execution list and for these test cases. Okay, and also let me tell you one more thing. See, for these execution lists, let's say here, okay, let's go to execution list. If I specify any test configurations, okay, so let's go here. Under this test case, let's say under this execution list, I have 2 test cases, correct? If I specify browser as Edge, Okay, but the actual test case has configuration as Chrome. Okay, let's say your actual test case has a configuration as Chrome, but if you specify your browser as Edge here, what it will do, anytime whatever the test configuration you specified under your execution list will take a precedence. It overrides your test case configurations. So basically any configuration of your execution list will take a precedence, or it will override the configurations that you specified in here. Okay, if you specify, if you if you don't specify any test configurations at execution list level, then it follows the configuration of your test cases. Okay, hope you all understand the concepts, how to create execution lists and what are all the different options that are available to run your execution list, and what are all the options that is available to make repetitions, right? You can repeat your execution, test case execution, by providing repetitions, right? How can you exclude specific test case from your execution list, right? And then how can you run the test cases, and how can you synchronize your execution list so that it takes your up to date or latest test cases, right? All these options you already understand. Okay, so if you have any queries, you can just leave your queries in the comment box. Thank you.
This is our lesson 3 if you compare with the advanced level training. But as an overall TRICENTIS Tosca automation training, it's a lesson 18. So in this lesson, I'm going to teach you how can you link automated test cases to your requirements by using TRICENTIS Tosca latest version 16. Please do subscribe to the channel, click on bell icon, you'll receive notifications whenever I publish more videos. Thank you. So by end of this lesson, you learn how to link test cases to your requirements in Tosca, and you learn how to link execution lists to your requirements. So by linking your test cases and execution lists to your requirements, you will get an overview of the progress and the entire state of your project. So this is as similar as traceability matrix, where you can track requirement coverage and the execution state. So now let's jump onto the system and let me show you how can you link your automated test cases and your execution list to your requirements by using latest version Tosca 16.
So before we start linking test cases to requirements, right? So this is my Tosca 16 tool. Okay, let us understand very high level about the requirements. Okay, so I've already listed out all the web shop front end requirements in the requirements tab. Okay, so basically I created requirements, right click on top, right, requirements, right click. I created a folder, requirement folder called web shop requirements. Under web shop requirement folder, I have created requirement set. Okay, web shop front end requirement set. Right click on the folder, and this is set, and this is your folder. Okay, I created a requirement set. Under this, again, I have created a requirement, okay, called customer tasks. So under this requirement, again, I have created 4 different requirements: register, login, modify customer data, check order. In the same way, handle product, there are 4 requirements. Shopping cart, there are 4 requirements. Order process, there are 4 requirements. Okay, so now this is all about the requirements. I have already created requirements. Now, to link your test cases to requirements, let us first move these requirements to the split screen. Okay, split screen view. Okay, so these are the requirements. Okay, and now we need to link the test cases. So what test cases I'm going to link? See, the test cases from session 13, the automated test case from dynamic text numbers, and the automated test cases from discount code. So I'm going to map all these three requirements, okay, to the corresponding requirement on the right side. Okay, so first, shopping costs. So I'm going to drag this and drop to the calculate shopping cost requirement. Okay, and I have linked this. Okay, and then this payment process, I'm going to drag this test case to payment method requirement. Okay, so that is linked. See, if you see, the test case is linked. And now the discount code, I'm going to map this to discounts under shopping carts, right? Drag and drop it to under shopping carts to discounts. Okay, I have mapped this. So now we have mapped three test cases to the corresponding requirements. Okay, and then it's not enough to map just test cases. We need to map the execution list, actual execution list. If you see here, all those test cases in my previous session, I have already explained you in my previous session creating the execution list, right? I have created an execution list and where I have mapped all these three test cases to that execution list. Okay, so now we have to map this execution list to the requirement, the parent requirement. Okay, so we need to now map your execution list called web shop to your requirement set. This is your requirement set. Under requirement set called web shop frontend, we have all the sub requirements. This is your set. So your execution list should be linked to your requirement set. Okay, so drag the requirement set, sorry, your execution list to requirement set. So done. So now our test cases are mapped to requirements and the corresponding execution list also mapped to requirement. So now let's go back to our full view of our requirements. Okay, full view of our requirements. So if you see here my full view, so based on my previous execution runs, if you see here, we mapped one test case under this, so that is what the discounts, and then we mapped two test cases under order process. If you see here, coverage specified, so that means if you map the test cases for all these 5 requirements, then your coverage will be 100%. For now it's showing 49 because you only mapped this one 100% and this one is only 20%. Okay, and if you see here, this we mapped one more. Okay, out of 4 requirements we only mapped one, out of which because of my previous runs it is showing as failed. That's why you can see the coverage of the specified requirement and execution state. 20% failed, 49% failed, right? For this requirement it's 100% failed, correct? So basically, as soon as you map your test cases and your execution list, now you can track your entire requirement state in terms of coverage, in terms of execution state. Okay, So this gives you overall traceability matrix and your overall project status also. Each requirement, what is the coverage, and each requirement, what is the execution state, right? Once you map all of your test cases to your requirements and your execution list to your requirement, that's it. So you can simply track your entire project state based on that. Okay, so hope you all understand the concept of how to link your test cases and your execution list to your requirements. So one thing is, you need, as soon as you link your test cases, you need to link your execution list also to your requirements, because whenever I execute my execution list, the corresponding test cases will be mapped. The corresponding test cases will be reporting to your requirements, pass or fail, right? So if you have any queries, leave your queries in the comment box. I'll try to respond to your queries. Thank you.
Hope you all understand the concepts of how to link automated test cases and your execution list to your requirements. Please do subscribe to the channel, click on bell icon. You'll receive notifications whenever I publish more videos. Thank you. So this is our lesson 4 if you compare with the advanced level training, but this is a 19th lesson as an overall TRICENTIS Tosca automation concepts. So we are going little more and more advanced level concepts. Okay, so in this lesson I'm going to teach you how can you use while, if and do statements by using TRICENTIS Tosca 16. Please do subscribe to the channel, click on bell icon. You'll receive notifications whenever I publish more videos. Thank you. Okay, so in this lesson I'm gonna teach you conditional and loop statements. So I'm gonna explain what while, if and do statements are, and I'm gonna teach you how can you set a while statement in Tosca by using a real-time example. A while statement is a loop used for running test steps many times as long as a particular condition is met. The condition no longer match, then the loop stops. Okay, so I'm going to teach you by using a real-time example where we can use while statement to repeat couple of test steps while automating your test case. Okay, so for this particular lesson, it's a prerequisite is to import AS1 additional material base.tsu for this particular exercise. Okay, so now let's jump onto the system and see how can we use while statement by using latest version Tosca 16.
Okay, so this is my Tosca latest version 16. Okay, so before we start using while statement while automating our test case, let me explain you what is the scenario that we are going to automate so that I can use while very effectively. Okay, so let's go back to my web shop. Okay, so what we are going to do, we are going to automate empty shopping cart scenario. What it means, so before I execute any test case, right, I want to make sure that your shopping cart is empty. Okay, so for that, once you are into shopping cart, so if you see, this is your shopping cart table. So at the back end, it's a web table where your all the items will be stored. Okay, so I need to empty this shopping cart. How? Check the item. If the shopping cart exists any item, check this, click on update shopping cart. That will remove that item. And again, I want to check, do I have any items? Yes, I found one other item. Check this, click on update shopping cart. So now, do I have any other item into shopping cart? Yes, check this and update shopping cart. Do you have any other item in the shopping cart? No. Now I need to exit. Exit means I need to click on log out, wait until login appears, and then close the browser. Okay, that's what I need to automate. That is the scenario. Okay, so let's go back to my TRICENTIS Tosca. So as I told you, I need to create a new workspace and I need to import the TSU file, additional material based TSU file, so that I will have some predefined libraries and predefined modules that are already created. So if you want to access all these materials like presentation, PDF, and then these TSU files, you can basically go to my Udemy course. You can subscribe to my Udemy course. I'm going to leave my Udemy course in the description. Okay. Where you can access all the artifacts, and also in fact you can simply access the entire workspace that I'm working on. Okay, so now let's go here and create a new workspace. Okay, so let's name this as automation specialist level 2, and I want to use a workspace template here. I don't want to use a standard TSU. I want to use this one. Okay, additional material based TSU. Browse this, and then yeah, this is the one. Okay, this is the one I want to use, and then open this. Now click on OK. So now it is going to create a new workspace where you will have some predefined activities, basically predefined test case folders, predefined modules or the controls, okay, that are already captured. Okay, and here, so once you land on here, I'm going to create a new reusable test block, because see, emptying a shopping cart is a reusable function. So anytime multiple test cases, I can reuse that, right? So that's why I'm going to use reusable test blocks. Okay. So if you remember in my previous specialist level 1 sessions, right, I have explained you how to create libraries and then how can you create reusable test blocks, right? So if you see, this is my library. I want to create a new reusable test block here. Okay, right click, create new reusable test block, and name this as empty shopping cart. Okay, so this is my new reusable test block. Let's concentrate on empty shopping cart. Now let us insert the modules. I want to insert the module called top menu 3 times. Okay, first insert the top menu and name this as navigate to shopping cart. Navigate to shopping cart. Done. Let me insert one more time same top menu module and name this as logout, and let me insert one more time top menu. Okay, and this time name this as wait until logout. Wait until logged out. Okay, and then now I want to insert a standard module called close browser, right? Close browser. That's it. Now let us insert the values. Okay, first what we are going to do, you need to click on a shopping cart, correct? Let's click on, that means I need to put some X value here and your action mode as input, and then I need to click on logout. So basically, of course, once you go to the shopping cart, you will be performing removal of the emptying the shopping cart. I'm going to tell you that. Okay, and logout. Once you log out, you need to wait until this login link appears. So for that, here you need to provide the login visible visibility criteria. If it is visible, right, visible is equal to true, wait until visible is true. That means I need to select the action mode as wait on. So I'm instructing Tosca, wait until this login is visible true. Okay, until login visible true, right? So once that is done, now I'm gonna close the browser, correct? So here title of the browser is demo star. I'm using regular expression. Okay, done. Now here, now I need to perform empty. Once I go to the shopping cart, I need to perform empty, right? Emptying the shopping cart. So for that, let me introduce a new test step. Create while statement. Okay, what I'm gonna do, let's collapse all these. I need to bring this while loop after navigate to shopping cart. After navigating to shopping cart, I want to perform some actions. What? I need to empty the shopping cart, correct? So now first let's concentrate on condition. Under while loop, let's go to condition. So here I want to import a module called shopping cart, correct? So I have to go to the shopping cart. Under shopping cart, I need to verify if this shopping cart has a shopping cart table. If you remember, if you add any item, that item will be stored in the table, correct? Let me add some items. Okay, let's log in and add some items so that you understand very well. So go to apparels and shoes, add jeans, add something, add bag, right? So now you go to shopping cart. I want to verify if the table exists, right? This shopping cart table, correct? So for that, I need to see condition is if your shopping cart products, this is the table, this is your table. If this exists, that means go here, select exist equal to true, right? But here action mode is verify. I want to verify if this table exists or not. If this exists, then let's go to your loop. What it needs to do? It needs to start emptying the cart, correct? So Control T, again shopping cart, import the same module, and here I need to select, right? In the table, this is my first row. I have to select first row checkbox. For that, go to rows and then select this first row $1. So I've already explained you about how to handle the tables, web tables in my previous sessions. Okay, I would recommend you guys to visit those videos. Okay, and here once you select one, you will see remove. This is my remove column, right? Under this remove column, again here my action mode should be again select. Sorry, not this one. So this one is select. Under remove column, there is a remove checkbox. I need to check this, right? So that's why I have to change this to input, and this is select this as true. This checkbox should be true. Understand? So this checkbox is true. Select, and then this is true. And once that is done, so once I select this, I need to update the shopping cart. So for that, click on shopping cart, update shopping cart button, correct? Once that is done, again it goes back to the condition. Do you have a shopping cart still? Yes. Again come here, Again now select the first checkbox and then update the shopping cart. So as soon as you update the shopping cart, your shopping cart is, let's say, select this, update the shopping cart, done, right? Now I have another item. So it goes back to the condition, still this table exists, yes. And then it goes here and selects your first checkbox and then clicks on update shopping cart, correct? So that's how we are going to perform. So once that is done, I think we are good. Now we are ready to run this particular reusable test step block, correct? So okay, for that, first, before you run, you need to make sure that you have some, let me add some more items to the shopping cart. Okay, let me add this also to the shopping cart, and then let me add this also to the shopping cart. Okay, okay, let me select this, add to the shopping cart. Okay, so I have total 4 items. Okay, and here, yeah, I have 2 bags. Okay, right, now I need to run now. Okay, you should be login, and then let's, oh, you need not to click on your, it's going to click on shopping cart anyway. So let's go here. Okay, okay, so now right click and run in Scratchbook. See, clicked on shopping cart. Now see, it checked first checkbox, updated shopping cart, second updated shopping cart. Now it's empty. It's going to log out, and then it's going to close the browser, right? Once this login link identifies, it will close the browser. Done, it's closed the browser. So our test case is passed. See, everything is passed. While loop repeated how many times? See, this while loop repeated 4 times because there are 4 items, 1 2 3 4. That is the reason it repeated 4 times, and then logged out and waited until the login appears and closed the browser. Okay, so hope you all understand the concept very well. It is very important concept in the real time. Okay, if you have any queries, leave your queries in the comment box. I'll try to respond to your queries. Thank you.
So this is our lesson 5 in terms of advanced level training, and it's a lesson 20 in terms of overall TRICENTIS Tosca automation concepts. So in this lesson, I'm going to teach you a very important concept called a recovery scenarios. So please do subscribe to the channel, click on bell icon, you'll receive notifications whenever I publish more videos. Thank you. Okay, so let us understand what is recovery scenario. So recovery scenario, it's an instructions that tell Tosca what to do in order to recover a test case that might have failed while running a test during final execution. So if recovery scenario is run successfully, Tosca will retry test case according to the retry level set. That means if recovery scenario is successfully ran, right, then Tosca will retry the test case according to the retry level set. If recovery scenario fails, then Tosca will go to the next recovery scenario available. And recovery scenario can be added to recovery scenario collection, which can be added anywhere within the test case section. So basically, the retry level, whatever you set at the recovery scenario level is at test case level, or you can set at test step level, or you can set at test step value level. That means if in case the test case fails, then the recovery scenario will trigger, and then it can run your entire test case again, or it can run a particular test step again, or it can run a test step value again. So there are three levels where you can basically set your retry level. Okay, now let's jump onto the system and see how can you create recovery scenarios in Tosca, and then how can we use them in automating our test cases.
Okay, so this is my TRICENTIS Tosca 16, right? So if you see in the left side under test case section, there is an exercises folder. Okay, so all these folders, it comes along with the TSU file that you have downloaded in earlier session, right? In earlier session, what we did, we have downloaded a TSU file. Let me show you that. Okay, we have downloaded a TSU file called this one, additional material, right? Additional material base.tsu. So this, once you download this, you will get all these predefined test cases. Okay, so for this you need to go to your recovery scenarios. Under recovery scenarios you will find login and logout. Okay, so what does this test case? So this test case simply logs in to the web, this demo web shop. It performs login activity and then by entering the username and password. Okay, and then it logs out, wait for again login link and close the web shop. So it's simple login and logout functionality that we are verifying as part of this test case. Okay, so now I want to introduce a recovery scenario for this test case, automated test case. Okay, for that right click and you need to select recovery scenario collection, create recovery scenario collection. Click on this and under recovery scenario collection, create a recovery scenario. So this is your recovery scenario, create recovery scenario. Okay, so under recovery scenario, I'm going to add 3 modules. Okay, first one is I need to add top menu. Okay, top menu, and let me name this as logout, and then the next one is again, let's call the same top menu one more time and name this as wait until login, wait until logout, logged out, wait until logged out. Okay, and then standard, I'm going to call a standard module close browser. Okay, and then let's enter the values. So I want to perform logout and then I want to wait for login, right, to appear on the screen. So for that I need to select visible equal to true. You have to wait until it is visible, so select action mode as wait on, and here title of your window to be closed is demo. So what I am doing here, so I have created one recovery scenario for this login logout test case. Why I have created recovery scenario for this login logout test case? Let me explain. See, when I am executing the automated test case where I am actually validating the functionality of login and then logout, right? So there, for example, if your browser, what if your browser or your web shop is already logged in? If my web shop is already logged in, if I run this test case, then my test case is going to fail because it is not able to find out login link because I already logged in. It finds out the logout but not the login. But in this test case, first you are logging in, right? So now I want to recover this kind of scenario. Basically, this test case needs to be recovered in case of this kind of scenarios. If the browser is logged in, I want to log out and then close the browser. So that is what the recovery scenario we introduced here, right? Logout. So let's see here, and then here go to the properties, click on recovery scenario, go to the properties. You need to select the recovery scenario. This retry level is at test case level or test step level. So I want to select this as test case. In case my test case, login logout test case, actual test case fails, then I'm asking to I'm asking to trigger this recovery scenario and do some action and then rerun the test case. That's why retry level is test case. Okay. So here, let's save this and then go to execution list, because as I told you earlier, the recovery scenarios cannot be triggered when you run in the scratchbook. So these recovery scenarios can be invoked only when you run in the execution list. Okay, so before I run the test case, let us make sure the recovery scenario in the settings. Okay, go to project and go to settings. So you need to see the recovery scenario settings. Okay, that is very important. Under settings, you need to go to T-box. So here T-box, under T-box, you will have a recovery. So here on dialog failure, on exception failure, on verification failure. Okay. So I want to make them as recover. So let's select them as recover. Okay. Okay. That's it. So these two, we need to make sure that all the verifications will make them as recover. Okay. And then close it. So now let's trigger this, because whenever I trigger this, right, your web shop will be opened with already logged in, correct? So now your test case, login test case should fail, correct? So let me see, how did I map this here? Okay, let me just map it the test case again. Okay, let's go back here. Let's map this login test case to our execution recovery scenario execution list. Okay, so now let's run the scenario. Right click and run your execution list. So when I run this, the web shop will be opened. It is already logged in. It will not be able to see the login, and then recovery scenario should trigger. See, it triggered the recovery scenario. It logged out. It closed the web shop, and then again it's opened the web shop. So that means it's working. Our scenario is working correctly. Basically, the recovery scenario got triggered. Okay. So hope you all understand the concept of recovery scenario. Okay. So if you have any queries, leave your queries in the comment box. I'll try to respond to your queries. Okay. Thank you.
So this is our lesson 6 in terms of advanced level training, but it's a 21st lesson in terms of overall TRICENTIS Tosca automation concepts. So in this lesson, I'm going to teach you how can we create cleanup scenarios, and then how can we use cleanup scenarios by using TRICENTIS Tosca latest version 16. Please do subscribe to the channel, click on bell icon. You'll receive notifications whenever I publish more videos. Thank you. Okay, so now let us understand what is this cleanup scenario and why do we need to use this cleanup scenario in Tosca. So by end of this lesson, you will be able to create and use cleanup scenario. And this is very useful when recovery scenario is unrecovered. So whenever your recovery scenario is unrecovered, then these cleanup scenarios comes into picture. So if recovery scenario fails, if you want Tosca to reset and restart your application or your system under test and put it into the correct status of for your next test case, right? Then you can use these cleanup scenarios. And whenever test case is not recoverable, cleanup scenario will kickstart to clean up a testing environment so that it will be ready or it is ready for your next test case run. Okay, and cleanup scenarios can be added to recovery scenarios collection. So basically the recovery scenarios as well as the cleanup scenarios both will be added to recovery scenario collections. So now let's jump onto the system and see how can we create and use cleanup scenarios by using latest version TRICENTIS Tosca 16.
Okay, so this is my Tosca 16. Okay, so let us first understand the scenario where you would need a cleanup scenario to be created. Okay, for that I just created one test case. Okay, it's a very simple end-to-end test case where we'll be navigating to the web shop, and then you're going to log in, and then you're going to purchase the blue jeans. You're going to add to cart, and then you're going to complete your checkout process. Okay, so you're going to purchase the blue jeans. Okay, so that's what the scenario. Okay, let me just run this particular test case. So I already explained automating this end-to-end test case in my previous sessions. Okay, so I would recommend you guys to visit my previous sessions. So let me just run this test case. Okay, so it opens your web shop. Okay, it clicked on login and then entered username, password, right? And then it's going to purchase the blue jeans, add to cart, and then agree the terms of services, right? So you remember agreeing the terms of services where you will be checking the box. Okay, so this is our straightforward scenario. Purchasing a blue jeans, successfully order has been placed, and close the browser, log out and close the browser. So now what if this test case gets failed in middle, where let's say verifying the prices, for example, while start checkout process, right here, while checking out the process, let's assume the terms of service. Okay, let's say I'm going to fail this test case. Okay, at terms of service, it's not going to click on the terms and we are not going to accept the terms and conditions. Then what happens? It's going to throw an error message saying that you have not accepted the terms and conditions. So in this case, this test case will fail. Okay, let's save this. So when this test case fails, we need to trigger a cleanup scenario so that your environment will be cleaned up and it is ready for your next test case. So when you actually, let's go back to web shop again. Okay, so what happens when you do that? Okay, let's say login. I'm logging into my, okay, logged in. Okay, so now once I log in, let's say apparels and shoes. So what I'm doing, actually I am clicking on this, I'm adding quantity of 10 to the cart, correct? And then going to shopping cart. Here, instead of agreeing this, I just clicked on checkout. Then you're going to get this error message. So then what happens? Your test case will fail. So once your test case fails, your website should be ready for your next test case execution. So when I log in again, what happens, right? In your shopping cart, this blue jeans will be added. It's already added. So what you need to do to recover or to put your environment to the same state, first you need to empty this shopping cart and log out and close the browser. Why I need to log out? Because whenever you enter one more time, next time, right, you directly landing onto your website with login. See, I can see I already logged in, and in the shopping cart I can see 10 items already there, right? So when your next test case is triggered, By default, your website will be landed in a such a way that you are already logged in and you have some items in the shopping cart. So that's why it's very necessary for you to empty the shopping cart and log out, right? That's what you need to do to execute your next test case, right? So that's why what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create one recovery scenario where at here right click, recovery scenario collection, right click and then create your recovery scenario collection. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, so right click here and then create a recovery scenario, add recovery scenario collection. Okay, so let me just again show you. Okay, at the test case and top of the test case, I'm actually adding a recovery scenario collection. Under this, I'm going to add a cleanup scenario, create cleanup scenario. Okay, so here under this create cleanup scenario, I'm going to drag, see this is my empty shopping cart test case. Okay, drag and drop your empty shopping cart test case. Okay, right. So I just created one cleanup scenario where it's gonna navigate to the shopping cart. It's gonna, if you remember, emptying shopping cart by using while loop, right? I already told you in my previous session where I have explained you how to use while loop. So this is what the example I showed you. How can we empty the shopping cart by using while? Okay, the same test case I just dragged and drop into my cleanup scenario. Now to fail this previous test case, I already removed this, deleting my terms and service because I don't want to agree the terms and services, right? So that's why I'm deleting that value. So now if you see here the structure, I have a recovery scenario at the parent level. Now I have one test case related to cleanup scenario, right? So when I execute this cleanup scenario, to execute this cleanup scenario, one more thing is your recovery scenarios can be triggered only when you execute your test case by using execution list. So now let me drag and drop my recovery scenario test case. Okay, so let me simply execute this test case by using the recovery scenario. Okay, so this is my cleanup scenario test case. Okay, let me just delete, clean up everything. Okay, so now let me execute this cleanup scenario. When I execute this cleanup scenario, my test case is going to fail and then it should trigger my recovery scenario. Okay, so now let's right click and run this execution. So now it's going to log in, right? And then apparels and shoes, and it is going to add the jeans. And here once you go to shopping cart, see now I'm not checking in that, it's going to check out. See, it giving me a error. Now the test case will fail, but a recovery scenario will trigger, which will empty the shopping. See, it emptied the shopping cart, it logged out and then closed the browser. So if you see here, your test case is failed, but the recovery scenario got triggered. See here, if you see here, sorry, I think this one. Okay, yeah, this one. See here you're not able to complete your checkout process, correct? Because of the agreement. And here this test case is failed. Now cleanup scenario got triggered, and which cleaned up your environment by navigating to shopping cart, empty the shopping cart, logged out and then close the browser. Now you are ready to execute your next test case. So hope you all understand how to use your recovery scenarios. Really very important. How can you use your cleanup scenario, and what is the purpose of your cleanup scenario, and how can you trigger the cleanup scenario. Okay, so if you have any queries, leave your comments in the comment box. I'll try to respond to your queries. Thank you. So this is our lesson 22 in terms of overall TRICENTIS Tosca training, or it's a lesson 7 in terms of advanced training. So I would recommend you guys to please visit my previous videos before you watch this session to understand the concepts very well. So in this lesson, I'm going to teach you how can you use a dynamic comparison, or how can you perform dynamic comparison while automating your test cases, or while validating your test cases by using TRICENTIS Tosca automation. So for dynamic comparison, we use XBuffer. So you're going to learn XBuffer concept in this particular training session. Please do subscribe to the channel, click on bell icon. You'll receive notifications whenever I publish more videos. Thank you. Okay, so what is dynamic comparison? So in this lesson, I'm going to teach you how can you set up and then how to use dynamic comparison. And the dynamic comparison is a feature within Tosca that allows you to verify a portion of the string that is static. So basically you can verify static portion of the string, and you can buffer another portion of the string which is dynamic. Okay, so let's assume once you order your product in any e-commerce site, right? It says your order has been successfully placed, and it gives you the order number. So in this case, the order number is a dynamic, and your order has been successfully placed, that is a static text. So now how can you validate this entire string? Part of string is dynamic and part of string is static. So that is where this dynamic comparison comes into picture. Okay, so this is also represented as XBuffer, which is curly braces XB in Tosca. So basically this helps you to verify the string with dynamic elements, and as well as simultaneously you can buffer the element within the string which is a dynamic, and you can utilize them later in your test validations. Okay, so let's jump onto the system and see how can we perform this dynamic comparison by using XBuffer concept by using latest version TRICENTIS Tosca 16. So this is my Tosca 16, okay, where we are going to start working on dynamic comparison. So if you see, I already explained you one end-to-end scenario where we go to, if you see, this is my demo web shop. That is where we are working from past 21 sessions. Okay, you basically logged into demo web shop, go to apparels and shoes. So I'm going to teach you, I'm going to tell you what scenario we are automating here. Okay, and go to blue jeans and add to cart quantity 1. Okay, and then go to shopping cart, and here agree the terms, checkout, and here billing address, shipping address. So this is all already I have explained you. Okay guys, okay, so here once you complete your entire order, once you confirm the order, you will get an order number. Okay, so if you see here, this text order number 140912, correct? So here order number is a static and 140912 is dynamic text. Okay, so that means now I want to verify this text. How can I verify this text? So that is where dynamic comparison comes into picture. So let's go here. So I already automated that entire scenario, logging in and then checkout and verify. So here if you see, there is one module test case step called verify the order success, where I'm verifying the successful order. Your order has been successfully processed. And here the order number. Okay, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to verify this also. Select verify, and here inner text, this is my object control related to this one. Okay, here I'm going to select inner text, and my inner text is equal to what? Here, copy this. Okay, copy this and paste here. Sorry, this one, inner text equal to, here this is my dynamic part, right? That one I'm going to specify as XBuffer. Exclude the verification and buffer this particular text, this particular part of the string. What I'm doing, I'm specifying verify this entire text from here to here, and while verifying exclude this part and then store this in a buffer value. Okay, so for that's the reason I'm going to specify XBuffer. Here I'm going to tell this as order number. What I'm doing, this particular string after order number whatever exists, exclude that in the verification and store it into buffer called order number. That's it. So now if you see, I am verifying this entire text, entire string, but I'm excluding the part of string and storing that particular order number into order number buffer. Okay, so now we are done. So basically, before you make any changes, it's recommended to resolve the references, because this actually we created by using library. So library functions and all these things I already explained you guys. Okay, so now here I want to run this particular test case as it is. Okay, let me first log out here and close this website. Okay, now right click and run in Scratchbook, which opens your web shop and it logs into web shop. See, logging in, providing the credentials, and then go to apparels and shoes, and it orders the jeans. It's going to add that into cart. See, it's adding into the cart. Done. 25 amount. Go to shopping cart, agree terms. So basically it is applying the coupon. Agree terms, checkout, click on continue, and then it is actually shipping method. It's selecting payment method, right? And it's selecting the credit card, and then it's click on confirm. So once you click on confirm, it's going to verify the success message, and it's going to verify this also, right? And then it's going to log out. Okay, it's done, logged out. So if you see here, successfully completed. So if I go to test results, let's go to test results now. If you see here under shopping cart procedure, here verify order success. If you see here, it says this order number verification is successful and the order number is placed here. Okay, so let me see the buffer. How does it buffer stored? Okay, let's go to tools and click on buffer overview. And if you see here, order number, see, buffer called order number is stored with actual order number. So you have to go to tools, click on buffer viewer. See, this is where I see the order number, whatever the buffer I specified, I can see here. See, this is the order number XB. So that order number has been placed. Correct? So now I can use this order number to verify the order number. Right? So hope you all understand the concept of dynamic comparison. How can you validate a message which is a dynamic? Some portion of the message is static and some portion of the message is dynamic. Okay, so if you have any queries, leave your comments in the comment box. I'll try to respond to your queries. So this is our lesson 23 in terms of overall TRICENTIS Tosca latest version 16 training, and this is lesson 8 in terms of advanced TRICENTIS Tosca training. So in this lesson, I'm going to teach you how can we use and implement the dynamic ID by using TRICENTIS Tosca, and also how can we use and implement explicit name by using TRICENTIS Tosca. So I'm going to give you a complex scenario, and then I'm going to teach you how to automate that particular complex scenario where I have to use the dynamic ID and explicit name to complete the automation of that particular end-to-end scenario. Okay, please do subscribe to the channel, click on bell icon. You'll receive notifications whenever I publish more videos. Thank you. Okay, so first, what is dynamic ID? So in this lesson, I'm going to teach you how can you identify when a dynamic ID should be used. And also, I'm going to teach you how to create a dynamic ID in the properties of a particular control. So the dynamic ID is a term for a value of a property on a module attribute that can change during each distinct run. So basically it's an attribute. So let's say you are capturing a control and you'll be identifying the unique properties, right, of that particular control, which needs to be used for a task to identify that particular control uniquely. Okay, so now you're going to add an additional property called dynamic ID. Okay, so I'm going to teach you shortly how can we create this dynamic ID. Okay, and also this can be achieved by using various dynamic expressions in Tosca. So while creating your dynamic ID property, you can achieve the dynamic ID by using a different or various dynamic expressions in Tosca. Okay, so that is our first concept. And then our next concept is explicit name. So in this lesson, I'm going to teach you how can you set the explicit name configuration parameter on a module attribute, and how to use this explicit name within a test step. So explicit name is a configuration parameter which can be added to your module, and it allows a change in the test step value's name, which reflects technical identification. And explicit name allows Tosca to steer the object using index considering any dynamic changes. So as soon as you use explicit name in the module attributes, you can simply use your index, okay, while defining the test step. So you can utilize the explicit name configuration parameter by going to step that contains module attribute and replacing the name with index number. Okay, so these are all the so definitions or whatever. Okay, so basically understanding explicit name, right? So now let's jump onto the system and see how can we use dynamic ID and the explicit name while automating the real-time scenario. Okay, let's jump onto the system. So this is my Tosca latest version 16. So first let us understand how can we use this dynamic ID and the explicit name options by using Tosca. So first let us understand what scenario do we need to automate, and to automate that particular scenario we would need to use these two options called dynamic ID and explicit names. Okay, so first, so as you all know, this is our web shop where we'll be going to the apparel and shoes, right? And then I'm gonna add blue jeans to the cart. Once I add blue jeans to the cart, I'm gonna agree to the terms and conditions under shopping cart, checkout, right? And then we are gonna place the order. Okay, so this end-to-end automation we have already done. I already explained you in many sessions, and in my previous session we also automated a dynamic string, so basically dynamic expressions. Okay, so you can visit my previous session or any previous videos. Okay, so once you complete your order, right, so in previous session, okay, what I explained you, this order number is so and so, right? So this order number keeps changing, and this part of the string is static and the last part of string is dynamic. And then we in the previous session, what we did, we validated this string static, half one part of static string we validated, and the other part which is dynamic we stored into a buffer by using XBuffer, XB concept, right? So I would recommend you guys to visit my previous video to understand what I'm talking about. Okay, so then see, we compared this, we validated this string, and we stored this order. So once we store the order, now whatever the buffer called order number, we stored this value in the buffer called order number. Now that buffer we need to use in this particular session. Okay, how? I'm gonna navigate to my profile. Okay, and then here click on orders. So if you see here, it shows you your entire order history. See, if you see here, this is my latest order, correct, and which has the corresponding details, and my previous to previous order is this, and the and another order is this. So this is how your entire order history is being displayed in this particular page. So now once I place the order, I want to verify if the corresponding order number whatever it showed on the confirmation page will be listed here in the history or not. So in my account, under orders, my latest order number should be displayed here. So now how can you verify your latest order is displaying in my account under orders? If you see here, you have a lot of orders here, right? You need to this, and one more thing is, if you place another order, this is going to change now. So now these controls are not uniquely identified. These keep on changing whenever you place a new order, correct? So how can you automate the scenario where I can verify the latest order in my order history? Okay, this is where we need the dynamic ID and the explicit name concept that we need to use while automating your scenario. For that, let's go back to our TRICENTIS Tosca and then navigate to modules. Under modules, navigate to web shop, click on in work, and then additional material. Under additional material, you will find an empty module folder called exercise 27. Okay, here now I need to scan one of the container or div container, because see, this is one div container, this is all one div container, and this is all another div container, and this is all another div container. So now I want to scan these controls. Okay, how? Right click here, click on scan, click on application, and select the application that you would like to scan. Okay, so this is the application. Click on scan. Now select the application that you would like to scan. Click on scan. And here now select first div container. If you see, these are all individual controls, but these individual controls are residing under another container called div. Okay, so now select the div container, and then you need to also select your order number. Done. And I also would like to select order total li, and then I want to select capture the details button. Okay, now go to advanced view, and here if you see here, whatever we captured, right? So if you need to rename them. What is this div container? This is actually your order overview, right? Let's rename this as order overview, and this one is your order number, and this is your order total. So perfect, done. So first place your cursor or click on order overview. If you see here, this order overview property, you need to change the property because inner text is empty, right? Remove inner text, select outer text, but this outer text, because this is my latest order which has order number, but this keeps on changing, right? So now instead of using this static property, you have to use a dynamic ID. So this is what I'm talking about, dynamic ID. Using dynamic ID for a control to identify. So using dynamic ID in the properties of a particular control. Okay, here I'm going to remove entire this text, and then I'm going to put star here. That means this order overview div container is dynamic, and I'm changing the property of outer text by introducing a dynamic expression with star. Okay, now click OK. So now in the same way, go to order total, and this also you need to select your visible inner text or outer text. Let's select outer text, and here under outer text you need to change here also. The order total might not be always 18, right? I want to convert this to a dynamic ID by removing the dynamic portion and by introducing dynamic expression. Click OK. And if you see here, dynamic overview is not uniquely identified. That's correct, because every div container here has order number, colon, and rest all star. So now this is not uniquely identified, I know. So this can be your first order, this can be your second order, this can be third order, whatever it may be, right? So we are not uniquely identifying this div container. That's what I need, because I'm going to use the explicit name to uniquely identify this div container. So now you all understand how to use your dynamic ID, correct? Whenever your property of your control changes. Okay, so now let's rename this demo. Okay, let's rename this as web shop order details and save this. So done. Let's close this. Now if you go back to your modules, now this empty module has this the order details, right? Whatever we captured, the div container, your order number, correct? Let's see the properties. Div container, order number, order total, details. Okay, whatever the properties that we captured, it has everything. Okay, now to automate your test case, we need to introduce an explicit name property, configuration property called explicit name to this div container, because this div container is not uniquely identified now. Okay, so what I want to do, I want to select this container, right click and select your create configuration parameter and name this configuration parameter as explicit name without space, and your explicit name property value should be true. I'm introducing a new configuration parameter called explicit name true. Okay, now save this. Now let's see how can we use this dynamic ID. So how can we use these controls which are having dynamic ID and which is also having explicit name property true. Okay, so now let's go to test cases. So if you remember, we have automated our in the previous session we have automated dynamic comparison scenario, right? So I would recommend you guys to go through that particular video before you watch this session, because I'm gonna use the same test case whatever we automated in my previous session. Okay, go to the same test case and expand your process. Under process there is a folder called check order. Okay, you need to click on this check order, and here now you need to call the module that just now we added, this one, right? Web shop order details. So now I'm gonna insert Control T, add test step. Okay, I'm gonna add test step order details. I'm gonna add the latest module, whatever we captured, whatever we scanned. Select that, and here now, because we used explicit name in the configuration parameter for this particular control, it's now our turn to use your index. Because this particular container has an explicit name, you can directly specify the index. Okay, I am naming that particular module, test case module, as #1. That means it's gonna refer your first container. If I specify this as #2, it's gonna refer your second div container. So because the latest order will be on the top, I want to specify this as 1 and verify. What I'm gonna verify? I'm gonna verify the inner text will have order number. Copy this. Inner text, order number, colon, space. So whatever the buffer that we used to store the confirmation number in my previous session. So as I told you, you have to visit my previous session where we have stored the dynamic portion of your confirmation number. Okay, I'm gonna call the same number here, same buffer. See, this is the order number. Okay, and then star, because see, this container will have your order number and the order number that is displayed on screen once you place the order, and rest of the text. So that's why I'm using dynamic expression here. Okay, order number, colon, space, your order number that you stored, and dynamic expression. So that's it. So now save this, and here let's run this. Before you run this particular test case, you need to log out and close the web browser and right click here. Now, so you understand, right? We have used the dynamic ID property while capturing these controls for some of the controls, correct? And then we used explicit name in the test case attribute for that particular control, okay, as an index. Okay, now right click on the test case and run in the scratchbook. So it should open your demo web shop, and then it is going to log in, provides the username password, go to apparels and shoes, and it is placing an order of blue jeans, 25 items. Go to shopping cart. Now check out. It's performing the checkout process. So once it checks out, once you get the confirmation number, in the previous session we were storing that confirmation dynamic part of your string in buffer, which is your order number. And then see, it stores that order number. See, it's stored now, order number and stored. Go to profile, go to orders. Now it's going to verify your first order has that particular order number or not. So it's successful now. So if you go to your test results, so if you see the test results, your web shop order details, see, it used your index and it verified the first container. See, verification was successful. Expression, order number, and the actual value and your expected value as both are same, right? So everything is successful. There is no failure. Okay, hope you all understand how to use your dynamic ID while scanning the controls, and then how can you insert explicit name to the control called div overview. And I'm going to use this module in the test case, and I'm going to specify index number itself directly to your in the test case, directly to the test step itself. I'm specifying that number, index number, so that it refers to the corresponding container. Okay, hope you all understand. If you have any queries, leave your queries in the comment box. I'll try to respond to your queries. So this is our 9th YouTube video in terms of advanced level concepts, and this is our 24th YouTube video in terms of overall TRICENTIS Tosca concepts. So in this lesson, I'm going to teach you how can you set a repetition on folder level so that you can achieve some of the automation concepts very easily. That means you can achieve some complex test cases, or you can automate some complex test cases very easily by using set repetition at folder level. And also I'm going to teach you about the result count, how we can use these result count attribute while setting up the repetition at folder level, and then how can we use the explicit name or a result count as an explicit name, or repetition count as an explicit name at test step level. So basically we are going to automate one critical functionality by using set repetition at folder level by using latest version TRICENTIS Tosca. Please do subscribe to the channel, click on bell icon. You'll receive notifications whenever I publish more videos. Thank you. Okay, first let us understand the concept of setting up repetition at folder level. So by end of this session, you will learn how to use repetition at folder level, and we are going to add some repetition value to a test step folder to achieve the repetition at folder level. Okay, and we'll be use the repetition notation within a test step. So once you define the repetition value at step folder level, you are going to use the same repetition notation at test step level. Okay, so it is a parameter that allows Tosca to repeat steps a specified number of times. So you can define the repetition only on test step folder level, which tells Tosca to repeat the step within the folder. Okay, so you can instruct Tosca how many times to repeat the action. Okay, so we are gonna, how many times that we can achieve by using result count. Okay, so now let's jump onto the system and see one a critical scenario or very important scenario. How can we automate by using result count and by using set repetition at folder level and by using explicit name. Okay, all these combinations, by using all these combinations we are going to achieve the automation. Okay, so now let's jump onto the system. Okay, so this is my TRICENTIS Tosca latest version. Okay, so before we start automating the scenario by using the folder level repetition, right? So let us understand what is the scenario that we would like to automate and how can we achieve that particular automation by using folder level repetition. Okay, so as usual, I just landed onto, I just logged into demo web shop, right? On which we are working from past couple of sessions, right? So, and then I added a couple of products like belt, jeans and shoe in the shopping cart. Okay. So now I want to empty this shopping cart. If you remember correctly, so in my previous session, we already automated this emptying shopping cart functionality by using while loop. Okay, where I have covered concepts of while, if, else conditions, right? Okay, we already performed automation of emptying shopping cart by using while. But in this session, we are going to automate the same scenario by using repetition on folder level and also by using result count. Okay, so how can we achieve the automation? Let's automate the scenario now. Okay, for that let's go back to our TRICENTIS Tosca, navigate to exercises and go to repetition folder. Under repetition folder you have empty shopping cart test case which I already created. Okay, under this, under process, there is a folder called empty shopping cart. So basically what is this test case? It's basically what it is doing. It is simply logging in, adding some products, and then it's gonna empty the shopping cart, right? And then we are gonna log out from the session. Okay. Okay, so once I click on this empty shopping cart, I can see there are two steps. One is I'm navigating to cart and then updating the shopping cart. That means I'm navigating to cart. Once you navigate to cart, you need to check the checkbox and click on update shopping cart. You need to check all the checkboxes that are available. So basically all the items that are available in your shopping cart and click on update shopping cart. Then that will remove all of your items from the shopping cart. So let's say you have 10 items. You have to click on this remove checkbox for the 10 items and then click on update shopping cart, which will remove all the items from shopping cart. Okay, so that's what we are going to do. Okay, for that let's go back to empty shopping cart folder and then start working on this particular folder. Okay, so for now let's create one additional folder. Okay, so let me create one additional folder under empty shopping carts, or let me create additional a test step. Okay, what test step? I want to call an shopping cart test step. So how? Just place on the folder, empty shopping cart folder, Control T, and then I'm going to call the shopping cart module. Okay, and name this shopping cart module as verify. What I'm going to do, I'm going to verify if the items exist in the shopping cart or not. Okay, so verify table exists. Okay, so I have to put this into the logical order. First I will be navigating to cart, so then verifying if the shopping cart table exists. This is a table, okay? If the table exists or not, I'm going to verify. And then again, let me call the same shopping cart functionality again, okay? Control T, sorry, shopping cart module, and name this as count number of unique items in cart. So let me name this as count number of unique items in the cart. Again, drag and drop here. So first I'm going to verify if the table exists. If table exists, how many number of items exist in this table? Okay, and then I need to calculate. So then I'm going to create one more test step to set. Okay, let me just, okay, so now again let's call another step, Control T. Here I'm gonna set a buffer. I'm gonna set the buffer, okay? Buffer. T-box set buffer. Why? I'm gonna tell you. Okay. See, when I'm actually again drag and drop here, okay? So after counting number of items here, right? What it will do? Number of items. Oh, sorry, I think we called some wrong table. Okay, let's do one thing. Count number of unique items. We called some wrong module here. Let's do one more time. Control T, shopping cart. Yeah, shopping cart. Okay, module. Yeah, this is correct. So let's drag and drop here. Once I verify the table, I need to count the number of unique items, right? Number of unique items. Let's name this as count number of unique items in cart. Okay, once I count the number of unit, what happens, right? When I count the number of items, what it will do, it's going to count the header also. This is your header 1, this is the second row 2, 3, 4. So that means I have to remove the header part basically. So when I get the result count, it's going to give me all the table rows including header. So that's why now what I'm doing here, I'm gonna calculate the number of items without header. So that means that's why calculate items in cart without header. How? By using set buffer. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to populate the values shortly. Okay. And then here, once that is done, let me create another folder. Now, once I calculate, now I have to start removing the items, correct? So for that, let me create one folder. Right click here, create folder, and name this as select remove. So that means once I get it, I have to select remove for all the items that are existing in the shopping cart. Again, drag and drop here. Okay. Now, once I select remove, now it is our time to populate all the values now. Okay. So now let's populate values first. Verify table exists. So I want to verify if the table exists or not. Correct. So what table? This is the table, shopping cart table. Correct. So for that, simply just take this as exist is equal to true. Okay. I'm verifying if the table exists. And then here I need to select the action mode as verify. I'm verifying. So that is done. Once I verify, I need to count here. Let's expand this. Count the number of unique items in the cart, right? So for that, this is my table, correct? And this is my rows. correct? And under rows, I want to verify, I want to see the result count. So the result count gives you the number of items available in the shopping cart. Okay, here just put this as result count, and I want to name, I want to calculate the number of items, and I want to store them into a buffer called cart items, items, cart items. Okay, and here let's select the action mode as buffer. Okay, so what I am doing, number of rows, whatever the result count gives me, I'm storing it into buffer called cart items, right? So this gives you the number of rows exist in the table, including the header. So now it's time for me to remove the header. How? Let's go to the next test step called calculate items in cart without header. For this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create one buffer. I'm going to set the buffer called actual cart number. What is our actual cart number? My actual cart number is, let me copy this buffer, okay? Name. Let me copy this buffer number. My actual cart number is, I need to use the math function here. Math, okay, math, take the buffer that we got here above buffer. Okay, what is the buffer? Your cart items is your buffer, correct? Cart items is buffer. Take that buffer and then enter the buffer name here. Okay, for that, capital B buffer, sorry, with curly braces, capital B buffer, and then cart items, see, it shows my cart items, and then close square braces, close curly braces. Now I have to remove one because it is also calculating the header, right? I want to remove one. If I get total number of results count as 4, then I have to remove one, and your actual cart items are 3, right? So that's why I'm removing one. Close the square braces and curly braces. So this will give you actual number of items in the cart. Okay, so done. I calculated that as well. Now navigate to your select remove folder. Now, okay, what we are going to do, for select remove folder, I'm going to specify the repetition here. What repetition I'm going to specify? I'm going to specify it as my actual cart number, correct? So let's specify the repetition as, let's call the buffer, what buffer? The actual cart number, buffer. And specifying the repetition value as the actual cart number. That means I want to repeat selecting these remove checkbox. How many times? The number of times I got from the actual cart number. Okay, so that means number of items. How many number of, let's say 3 items. That means I need to select 3 times, right? So I am asking to repeat this folder. See, as soon as I provide some value here, the folder, if you see, the repetition symbol is shown here. Okay, done. Now let's insert some test steps in this particular folder. Okay, first empty shopping cart. Okay, let's again, I'm going to call the same shopping cart. See, shopping cart module here, and name this as empty cart. Okay, I named this as empty cart. Okay, so once I click on empty cart, I mentioned as empty cart. Okay, here what we need to do, we have to now empty the shopping cart. So as I remember, this folder will repeat number of times whatever we specified here. Okay, so now here let's go to your row here. Okay, each row here I can do one thing. Okay, either I can select my first row hard coded. If I select first row, what I'm going to do, it's going to select here. If I select second row, if I mention as $2, it will select your second item, right? Now I don't want to do that. What I want to do, I want to use the repetition. How? See, you need to specify dollar curly braces repetition, repetition, and close your curly braces. What it will do, whatever you specified in the repetition, so here I'm using the same explicit name. So basically this repetition can be used as an explicit name. What I'm doing for the test step itself, I am changing the name of your test step as a repetition. Okay, so now expand this, and here I need to select remove, right? Here you need to select remove, and then once you select remove, here if you expand remove again here. Okay, so instead of verify, I want to select it as select. Under remove column, so basically see row 1, your row 1, my columns are remove, product, price, quantity and total, right? So what I did here, I selected remove instead of product, price, quantity. I selected the column called remove. Under column called remove, I can see the checkboxes, right? So these are all the columns. For the row 1, column remove, and here this is my checkbox. So I want to make this as true. I want to check the checkbox, and your action mode is true. That means what it will do, let's say I got the actual cart number as 3. First it comes here, first it takes as 1, it checks the checkbox, again it repeats the same thing. This time it's going to take it as number 2, and then it's check the checkbox, and then again it's going to repeat, and this time the column number will be taking as 3, sorry, the row number will be taking as 3. So that way it's going to repeat the number of times the actual cart items present. Okay, hope you all understand. So there is no confusion, right? So if you have any queries, you can leave your queries in the comment box. Okay, so that is done. I think we are good now. Okay, so now let's run this entire test case and see how it works. Okay, run this entire test case. Let me make sure we achieved everything. Okay, we are navigating to shopping cart, and we are verifying if table exists, and then we are counting the number of rows, I mean result count, by using result count, and we are removing the header part, header row, correct, from the number of rows, and then we are selecting remove by using repetition. I'm using repetition here. I'm selecting the checkbox, the number of times is same as your number of items, and then I'm clicking on update shopping cart. See the button called update shopping cart button after checking all the items. Okay, so hopefully it should work. Let's log out. Let me first empty the shopping cart. Okay, let me empty the shopping cart. Okay, and then log out and close it. Okay, so now let's run this now. Okay, right click and click on run Scratchbook, run in Scratchbook. So it should log in first. It should open your web shop, and then it should add some random products to the shopping cart. and then it should remove the shopping cart by using repetition functionality. Okay, so it is logging in. Once it is logging in, so it's going to go to the shopping cart and then it's going to add some items. Okay, it's adding blue jeans, right, to the shopping cart, 25 blue jeans, and then it went to jewelries and it is adding some diamond heart, right? Done. So now it's going to the shopping cart, and then see, it checked both the check boxes and clicked on update shopping cart. Okay, so if you see here, all the test cases, the test case is passed. So basically all the steps are successfully completed. So if you see here, if I go to select remove folder, right, so if you see here, the repetition, actually it is repeating twice. See, that means it checked 2 times because the shopping cart has only 2 items. So if your shopping cart has more than 2 items, then it's gonna check multiple times, 4 times. Okay, so hope you all understand the concept of how to use a repetition at folder level, and then how can you use your result count also, right, to calculate the number of rows, and then how can you use the repetition attribute at test step level, right? I specified it as $repetition, right? So if you have any queries, leave your queries in the comment box. I'll try to respond to your queries. Thank you. Please do subscribe to the channel, click on bell icon. You'll receive notifications whenever I publish more videos. Thank you. So this is our lesson 10 in terms of TRICENTIS Tosca advanced training, or it's a lesson 25 in terms of overall TRICENTIS Tosca training. So in this lesson, I'm going to teach you about the action mode constraint. So how can we use action mode constraint? Why do we need to use this action mode constraint, and when to use this action mode constraint? So I'm going to explain you in this particular session. Please do subscribe to the channel, click on bell icon. You'll receive notifications whenever I publish more videos. Thank you. Okay, first, so what is the agenda items? Okay, so by end of this lesson, you'll be able to use the action mode constraint by using latest TRICENTIS Tosca 16 version. And we are also going to identify different scenarios where to use the action mode constraint. See, if you know how to use constraint, but you have to know in which scenarios you have to use this action mode constraint, right? So I'm going to give you some examples, and then we are going to automate one of the example by using TRICENTIS Tosca 16. Okay, so constraint is a type of action mode that allows you to identify one specific item in a list of similar items. Okay, so the item you are looking for needs to be uniquely identifiable, right? So to make it uniquely identifiable within the similar items, we are going to use an action mode called constraint. Okay, so now let's jump onto the system and see how, when, and why we need to use the action mode constraint by using TRICENTIS Tosca. So this is my TRICENTIS Tosca latest version 16. Okay, so before we start working on this TRICENTIS Tosca 16, let us first understand the scenario that you would like to automate by using constraint. Okay, so this is my demo web shop that we are generally using throughout the sessions, right? So this is my demo web shop. So I'm in shopping cart. So if you observe the shopping cart here, I have 3 different products. One, music. 2, it's basically downloadable digital file, okay, with price 10, and another one music 2 with price 3, and one book with price 10. Now let's assume, so by mistake I have added one additional digital, basically one additional digital downloadable into the shopping cart. I want to remove the second music 2 with $3. So how can I remove that? Or I want to remove music 2 with $10, for example. Okay, I want to remove music 2 with $10. If you see in the cart, I have the albums with the same title music 2 here, correct? So that means I cannot directly specify go and remove music 2. Let's say if I want to specify price 10, for example, I want to remove a product with price 10, but there is another product which has a price 10. Either I cannot use music 2 or I cannot use 10, because music 2 has two similar names. If I specify price 10, it has two products with same price. So I want to remove this music 2 of price 10. So this is where we can start using constraint to identify a unique product within the shopping cart, a specific product within the shopping cart, even though there are duplicate constraints or duplicate items in the cart, right? So now what we are going to do, I'm going to log in to the by using credentials, and then I'm going to add multiple products, right? And I want to remove one of the music product which has a duplicate entries with different prices. I want to remove one of the music product, and then once I remove this product, I want to, let's say if I remove this product, right, remove this, now my price subtotal is 13. I want to make sure that the product whatever I selected got removed. Once that product is removed, your product subtotal will be 13, correct? So that means the product got removed successfully, okay? And then continue with our checkout process and then complete your order, right? That's what we are going to do, okay? So how can we achieve that? So let's say now let's go back to our TRICENTIS Tosca. So here let's click on exercises. Under exercises you will find constraint folder, okay? This is the test case that we are going to automate, okay? I already automated some part of the test case. Basically we are logging in and then we are ordering the products. What products? I'm ordering one jeans product, and then I'm also ordering some music album products, that is music 2 and music 2 with $10, music 2 with $3, right? Just now we saw in the cart. I'm just adding into the cart, and then now our turn is to remove the wrong item, which is music 2 with $10, right? I have to remove that, okay? So here let's focus on that particular folder. What folder? Remove wrong item from the cart, right? Here first I'm actually clicking on shopping cart, and now I need to remove a music product with $10. How can I do that? Okay, so for that let me add a module, shopping cart module. Control T, okay, shopping cart module. I'm adding a shopping cart module, and here let's rename this as remove wrong music. So remove music from shopping cart. Remove music from shopping cart, okay? And now let's see how can we remove the music, even though there are two duplicate music items, right? So how can we do that? Okay, so here first, shopping cart products, let's select this table. This is a table, right? So I want to specify this as select. Okay, once I select that particular table, see here, this is your entire table, this is your HTML table, this entire cart. Okay, this is your HTML table. So I'm selecting the table. Once I select the table, now I want to look for the product column called product. This is my product column, right? This is one column. Now I want to select the product column. So now rename this row. Okay, let me just quickly. Sorry. So now select row also here. Okay. Under row, select the action mode as select. And now here, now under cell, I need to select a product column, correct? So now let's select the product here, row, and select product. And here, the product, I want to select constraint. What constraint? I'm gonna instruct Tosca to look for a product with title music 2. Okay, let's specify that music 2. This is my product. Okay, that is one constraint. And now again here under row again, now this time rename this as, sorry. So now again for product, here we selected product. Now I want to provide a constraint of price also. Prices should be 10. Your title of the product should be music 2 and price should be 10. Then only you select it. Not 3. Earlier I already removed another product, music 2 with 10 also, right? So now here rename this cell this time with price and select constraint again. This is my constraint. And I'm going to specify the price as hashtag 10.00 hashtag. So basically I'm using regular expression. So basically the price should contain 10.00. So now what I'm instructing, go to this table, look for a product with music 2. But that's not sufficient because music 2 product has two different prices, 3 and 10. And I'm also telling Tosca, look for price 10 with title music 2, right? And now you need to again, now this time I have to select remove. If I find this constraint, you have to select remove, check the checkbox remove, right? Now your cell value should be remove, and then once you select remove, the corresponding checkbox, see under this column remove, you have a checkbox. So now the checkbox should be true. See, and now this should be true. I mean, this should be your input. Here remove should be select, not verify. Select remove column. Under remove column, check the checkbox remove, right? So done. Once I check the checkbox, what I need to do, I find the title of music 2 and I find the price 10, select it and click on update shopping cart. So here I need to update the shopping cart button. I need to click on this. So that's why I'm specifying as X and your action mode should be input, right? And now once I remove the product, now I need to verify the subtotal so that I can make sure that the product is removed and my subtotal should be the sum of only 2 products instead of 3 products. So here for that, let's insert one more shopping cart one more time. Let's insert shopping cart module one more time. And this time, let's rename this as verify price. Rename this as verify price. Okay, I renamed this as verify price. Now here you need to go to price table now. Okay, because this is your price table. This entire thing is price table. This is one column, this is your second column, right? So here first you need to go to this column. Okay, rename this as #2 because the price is at the second column, the price. So that's why I made it as #2. And now select your cell as subtotal. I am verifying subtotal, correct? Subtotal, and your subtotal should be $28 once I remove that particular duplicate product. Okay, and select your data type as numeric and select your action mode as verify. I am verifying the subtotal after removing one of the music product with $10. My subtotal should be 20. Okay, sorry, 28. So let me just remove this. Okay, update this cart. Okay, let's close this. Okay, I think that is it. Okay, so now let's save this, and now let us run this. Okay, so here let us run this test case, this entire test case. Okay, right click and run. So as soon as you run, it should open your web shop, and then it should add 3 different products, and it should remove 1 product. See, it's clicked on login, it's entered username. Now it's going to add blue jeans first of 25 quantity, with 25 quantity, so which is $25. Now it's going to add one music with $10, and it is going to add another music with $3. It is totally, see, $38, right? I added total $38 of the worth, but I'm going to remove $10 of music. See here, it's going to see the constraint now. See, it removed $10 of music too, and then it's checked your subtotal is 28, and then it is checking out. So that means even though the shopping cart has some duplicate items with same properties or with same attributes, by using constraint we are able to identify the item uniquely, right? I specified a constraint of both the constraints. One is the constraint of price, the music title of the product, and the constraint of your price, right? So you see, everything is passed. See here, it used the constraint and the corresponding music has been deleted. Okay, so your entire test case is passed, correct? Hope you all understand what kind of scenarios, in which scenarios you need to use the constraint action mode. So where if there are similar controls, or if there are similar list of objects, most of the times this constraint is being used in the web tables, most of the times. Okay, so if there are similar list of objects, then if you want to identify one of the specific object, then you can specify the constraint so that it can identify the corresponding object uniquely. Okay, so if you have any queries, leave your queries in the comment box. I'll try to respond to your queries. Please do subscribe to the channel, click on bell icon. You'll receive notifications whenever I publish more videos. So this is our lesson 11 in terms of advanced level concepts, or it's a lesson 26 as an overall TRICENTIS Tosca concepts. So in this lesson 26, I'm going to cover a very important concept called enabling self-healing mode, or how can you self-heal your test scripts when there is a change in your locator properties. So this is a really very important concept. Most of the organizations face this challenge whenever there is a new build for an application, right? All your properties of your locators gets changed. So now how can you overcome these kind of challenges? By using self-healing feature provided by TRICENTIS Tosca. Please do subscribe to the channel, click on bell icon, you'll receive notifications whenever I publish more videos. Thank you. Okay, so what is this AI powered self-healing in Tosca? So self-healing mode allows you to execute your test cases without failing, even if a control in your system under test has changed. So that means whenever there is a change in the control properties, whenever there is a new build of your application, even though the properties of your element is changed, the self-healing mode allows you to execute your test cases without failing them, right? And this ensures more stable test runs, reduces manual effort, and allows you to identify changed controls. And also this reduces the efforts for automation scripts maintenance. So whenever there is a new build coming, and lot of organizations spends lot of money in modifying their scripts and then re-executing them, so that effort will be reduced. And when you create a module with Tosca Xscan, Tosca automatically adds self-healing properties to the self-healing property tab of your module attribute, right? That I'm going to show you shortly. And also I'm going to show you how can you enable self-healing mode for test cases. So to enable self-healing mode for your automated test cases in Tosca, there are 4 different steps. First, you need to create a new test case with module attribute that contains the self-healing properties. And then you need to enable self-healing mode for the test cases that you automated. And then you need to create an execution list for the test cases and run your execution list, which does not fail even though the properties of your locator gets changed. So now I'm going to show you practically how this AI powered self-healing is going to work seamlessly in TRICENTIS Tosca. So it's really I never see this kind of feature in any other tools except Catalog. Okay, so now let's jump onto the system and see how can we perform self-healing by using TRICENTIS Tosca latest version. So this is my TRICENTIS Tosca latest version 2023. Okay, recently I have upgraded my TRICENTIS Tosca version 16 to 2023. Okay, so before I start explaining, or before I start automating one simple test case and show you how can you enable this auto healing or self healing for any automated test case, right? So before that, let's go to their official website. So this manual is actually its older version, but still this enabling self-healing mode available for all the versions 15, 16 and 2023 as well. Okay, so here if you see it has given entire explanation how can you use the self-healing property or self-healing feature in TRICENTIS Tosca here, okay, in this page. So you can go through this page, but anyway, so I'm going to explain the summary of this page, right, by automating one test case, right? So let's first automate one test case. So what is our test steps that we need to perform? So our first step is create a new test case with module or attribute that contains the self-healing properties. Okay, for that, first let me create one simple folder called self-healing. Okay, let me right click here and then create a folder called self-healing. Okay, now within this folder I'm going to create one test case. Right click, I'll make it as self-healing. The test case name is self-healing. Okay, so here first, so as you all know, TRICENTIS has their own demo web shop e-commerce website, okay, where you can practice all your test cases, or you can automate different scenarios by using sample website. Okay, so this is what I'm going to use. Okay, so for that, first we need to capture the modules, right? So let's go to TRICENTIS Tosca and go to modules. I'm going to explain from the scratch. Okay, so right click and then create, oh sorry, instead of creating a module, I want to just simply right click and scan the application. Okay, so it displays a window where you can select the application that you would like to scan. Okay, so it is starting your Xscan and it gives you to select the application. So this is the application that I would like to scan. Okay, right click and scan. First I would like to scan my top menu. Okay, what top menu? I want to scan all the objects related to top menu, right? Register, login, shopping cart, wish list. So I already published enormous number of YouTube videos explaining all these concepts. So you can just visit my description where I have pasted the playlist of my TRICENTIS Tosca 16, the playlist of TRICENTIS Tosca SAP, right? All these links in the description. Okay, so now if you see, these are the top menu links. So I would like to add register also, and then login, and then shopping cart and wish list. Okay, and then I would like to rename this as top menu. Okay, so now let's simply save this. Okay, let me save it. Done. So objects are saved and closed. So now let's go back to your TRICENTIS Tosca. So this is the one that we added just now, right? Demo web shop. Let me scroll down here. So this one, demo web shop, top menu. So this one we added. Register, login, done. Now I would like to automate login feature. So for that I'm going to click on login. Now I would like to capture all these objects related to login. For that, what we'll do, I'm going to again come back here and then right click here and scan application. So before I scan application, as we are doing auto healing, right, capability, I want to make a small change in the application. Okay, let me do that. Okay, let's close this. I don't want to scan anything here. Here I want to inspect this login button, and what I'll do, I'm gonna change the name of this login button. Okay, so let me do that. Okay, let's change the name of this login button to sign in. Okay, so if you see here, now I changed the name of this button from login to sign in, right? Now I will scan the module. Okay, right click and then scan the application. So this is my initial version of application. So in the initial version of application, the developers deployed, that application has the button called sign in. Assume that. Okay, so now I'm scanning entire application, right? I'm scanning the application where I would like to capture these login, password, sign in button, remember me, right? So if you see here, I have password. This is my password edit box. So if you want, I can simply highlight this. See, this is my password and this is my email, correct? It is highlighting right side. And then this is my sign in. See, sign in button is recognizing now. Okay, and then forgot password link, right? That's it. And then remember me checkbox. This is my checkbox. Okay, so it's highlighted now, right? So done. So now I would like to save this application. Okay, let's save this module. Okay, save it. And what is the name of this? So this is demo web shop. Let me rename this as, again, pipe symbol login. Okay, save this. So now let's close this. Okay, so this is done. So now what I will do, okay, let's again go back to our Tosca. If you see, these two are the new modules that we added, correct? Now let's say you automated let's automate the test case by using these modules, new modules, right? Let's automate our test cases. Login test case. What we'll do, I'm going to just drag this module and let me put it right side, okay, so that I can simply drag and drop my modules. Okay, here first I would like to open the URL, right? For this, Control T and then type open URL. Okay, these are all very basic concepts. Okay, I already explained in my previous videos. Okay, simply copy this, and what is the URL? This is my URL. So once you enter your URL, I think it is wrong. I did not copy entire thing. Okay, let's copy this. Copy and paste it here. Done. So now once I open the URL, next step is clicking on this login. So we already captured those modules, right? Drag this and simply drop here. Done. So what I need to do, I need to click on login link. So that's why I'm gonna enter value as X. So which clicks the login button, login link, right? Done. Now next, once here I hit login, I need to enter username password. So here this is my login page module, right? Just drag and drop here. And here I would like to enter the values of my email, and then the password, and here I'm going to click on sign in button. Okay, done. So now let's save this. So now let's see, if you see here, let me see, if you see, I refreshed this website. Let's say developer made some changes to this website. If you go to login, now the login button is, instead of sign in, when we scanned, that button is actually signing, but now it is login. If I execute this test case, what happens? It's gonna fail, right? Let's run this test case now. Let's close this and let me run this test case. Right click and run and see what happens. Okay, so generally it fails, right? The test case will fail. So what if, let's see now. Okay, so if the test cases are getting failed whenever there is a new build because of the property changes, then you have to again go to your corresponding modules. See, it is running, entered. Now in login, it's not going to find out that login. So every time the property changes, then you need to update your modules and the properties, locators, right? So instead of that, TRICENTIS Tosca can handle these scenarios. Because the property got changed, it can simply auto heal by using some other properties of this button. It can auto heal by itself, or it can self heal by itself. How can we do that? So let's go back here. Okay, so it simply says it could not find the button, right? It is not able to find the button, right? So now how can we auto heal this? To auto heal, so let's go back here. What is our next step? Enable self-healing mode. So before that, create new test case with module attribute that contains the self-healing properties. Now I need to add some self-healing properties while scanning my login module, right? When I was scanning the login module, that time I have to capture some self-healing properties. So let me show you again that. Okay, let's rescan this. Okay, I want to rescan this module again. So because I'm doing this second time rescanning, why? Earlier we haven't added any self-healing properties. So generally whenever I scan for the first time itself, you can add your self-healing properties as well, so which saves a lot of your time. Okay, so let me just go back here again. I'm just making the same change, like I'm just changing the button name back to sign in so that it can identify your object. Okay, see, generally what you'll do, right click, rescan. So when you are scanning your modules, you need to make sure that you also scan your self-healing properties. So generally, TRICENTIS Tosca captures all the self-healing properties. Let me show you what are these self-healing properties that TRICENTIS Tosca captures by default. Okay, TRICENTIS Tosca captures by default. Okay, so let me show what are those. Okay, if you see here, earlier we captured sign in, right, button. So when you capture the sign in button, let's go back here. So this is my sign in button, correct? And what are the properties that it took to identify the properties? So these are the identify by properties. Identify by properties. It is taking tag and value sign in, tag input, right? These two are the properties it captured. But now, because the button name is changed, it is not able to identify. So if you see on top here, you can see self-healing properties. Click on this. Self-healing properties of your sign in button is, these are the self-healing properties. What? Label sign in, class name, ID. I don't want to use this because this is blank. Name, I don't want to use this. This is blank. I'm making some changes. I want to use tag. I don't want to use title. Let's say value. Let's keep value also. That's not a problem. Okay. Or because you already added value property in the main property, right? So I don't want to use this value property. Okay. So what I'm taking, I want to add XPath also. Let's keep value also. That's not a problem. Self-healing properties. Okay. All these properties. Apart from value, I'm adding XPath. I'm adding tag. I want to add type, right? I want to add class name, and then label. Let's remove label, right? I want to add also action point also. Okay. Action point also I want to add. Okay. Let's add all these. And now save this. Okay. So you understand, right, where you can see self-healing properties, right? If we again click on this, it's going to show you normal properties that object is getting identified. Okay. Default properties. Save this now. Okay. So that is done. Let's close this. So as I told you, okay, now because the application is got enhanced and your button is changed to login, right? So now when you are running the script, it is not able to self-heal. Okay. Now while scanning your module, we also added self-healing properties. Now what is our next step is? Our next step is enable self-healing mode for the test case. How can you enable self-healing mode? Okay, the self-healing mode, let's go back here. Let me quickly show you TRICENTIS Tosca self-healing. Okay, if you see here, when you are enabling self-healing mode, there are three different types of enablements, right? There are three different types. Okay, let me just go here. Self-healing. It's opening self-healing website. Okay. Yeah. If you see here, when you are enabling self-healing, so there are three different types of options that you can select. One is weighted option. Assigns a weighting algorithm to self-healing properties to find the most unique control. Okay. And the next one is combination. Creates all possible combinations of all properties that are stored in steering param self-healing data to find the suitable control. False, that means it disables your self-healing mode. Okay, let's go back to our TRICENTIS Tosca. So before I enable self-healing mode, for the test case, I'll just want to show you whatever the self-healing properties that we captured here, right? Let's go back to here, okay? If you see, besides your detail tab, you have another tab called self-healing properties. So whatever self-healing properties that we captured, these are the self-healing properties. Tag, you have a weightage of 0.25. And then class name, you have a weightage of 1. XPath, you have a weightage of 1. Value, you have weightage of 1. Type, 0.5. Action point, 1. So you have a self-healing properties, and TRICENTIS Tosca, by using artificial intelligence, it captured all these self-healing properties and it is providing weightage to those properties. Okay, so that it helps in self-healing even though your properties got changed for the particular object. Okay, so now let's go back to your test case, whatever we automated, right? Now I want to enable self-healing here. Okay, you can see still the button, login button is now sign in, right? That will not work in the new build because your button is changed now. So now let me enable self-healing. Okay, here I want to first add browser property first here. Okay, I want to execute this test case on Edge browser. Okay, and then here I want to add another test configuration parameter called self-healing parameter. Okay, and I want to choose a combination property. I can select weighted or combination, right? First I want to select combination property here. Okay, I selected combination property. Okay, and now let's save this here. I saved it. Now let's close the application. Now let me run this again now. Okay, let me run the test case now. Now this time Tosca should enable your self-healing property. Okay, right click and run this. So it enables self-healing property and it uses the properties that we saved in the self-healing properties. Okay, so it opened, it clicked on login, it simply enters email and password. Now it starts thinking login. Now your login button is changed. What it will do? It self-heals and it should not fail. See, it did not fail. It clicked on login. Perfect. That means our self-healing is working. So let's go back to see the magic now. Okay, see the magic. This is our magic. But now again, let me tell you one more thing. Let's see our test results. If you see here, there is a symbol, right? Self-healing symbol, right? With a love symbol and your heart rate, right? That means this particular sign in button, it could not identify, but it applied a self-healing, right? If you expand this, it clearly says here, it says self-healing combinations attempted. 7 combinations it attempted, and it identified a unique control called class name. But earlier, what was the control? Let me see here. Let's go back to again. Let's go back here. Go back to our module. Okay, let me just put this aside. Okay, let me put this here. Let's put this here sideways. Okay, let's put sideways. Let's close this now. And here if you see, if you go to modules, the sign in property, what does it has? The sign in property is having actually, the sign in property is being identified, sign in button is being identified by value called sign in. But now the value is changed to login, correct? But if you see here in the self-healing results, it says the unique property. What it identified? The unique property called class name. Instead of value, it took the class name, correct? So this is the class name. It identified the button by using the property called class name. Now see the magic, okay? See the magic. Let me just bring this back again to main here, okay? See the magic here now, okay? What I'll do here now, let me put this aside only, okay? What I'll do, I want to now, because the property got changed, now I want to apply this new property. So if you see here, right click here, now right click here. Now apply self-healing properties. Because no property got changed, I want to apply this new property. Simply hit apply healing property. If you observe here, see now old property or old locator got replaced with the new locator. You understand, right? And simply save this. That means if any element locator property is changed while running in the application, it auto heals, and then you can update your properties with the latest properties. You can update your modules with the latest properties. So that means whenever there is a new build, it's a very genuine or very common occurring problem in automation is script maintenance. Whenever there is a new build, the tester says all the properties got changed. Now my application is breaking. My automation scripts are breaking. So now you need not to worry about it. Tosca will auto heal your test scripts and all the test results will be passed, and it updates your properties with the latest locators. So that's the advantages. That's the beauty of your self-healing property of your TRICENTIS Tosca. Hope you all understand the very important concept of self-healing, enabling self-healing in the TRICENTIS Tosca test scripts. If you have any queries, leave your queries in the comment box. I'll try to respond to your queries. Thank you.